Well, joining me right now is Julia Ainsley, investigative reporter with NBC News. Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today. And Mieke Eoyang is a former staffer on the House Intelligence Committee itself. In that order, let's talk about what the Republicans are up to. What is Chairman Nunes up to, Julia, here? Is he trying to destroy the prosecution against the president?
Yeah, well, it's clear that he's breaking precedent. I mean, we have seen in the past that these committees may have oversight authority, but they don't have whistleblower authority. And so at this point, he is trying to undermine the investigation by showing just pieces of what led to the FISA application.
Well, why is he doing this?
Because, Chris, he wants to show that what led to this FISA application was just pieces that came from the dossier, which has already been undermined by Republicans because they think that Democrats were the sole source of funding for this. So they want to show that this entire investigation hinges on uncredible material. And unfortunately, what we've heard is that Nunes and possibly other members of Congress have been talking to the White House as they've drafted this memo, which further raises questions about its accuracy and its bias.
Mieke, here's the question. He's chairman of the Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, and his job, it seems to me, is to get to the bottom of what went on with regard to the Russians in the 2016 presidential election and what role politicians may have played in this country, especially the president, in playing along with the Russians and helping them help themselves to change the course of that election. So my question is, what is Nunes up to? It seems like he's not trying to pursue the truth.
No, he's not. And at this point, he is just trying to protect the president, not the office of the president, but the individual person. And he's willing to sully the reputation of the Department of Justice and the FBI to do that. And his process for doing that is by cherry picking pieces of information to make this misleading claim that the FBI was somehow relying on this one piece of evidence. When you look at a FISA application, though, the FBI has to rely on all kinds of pieces of evidence, and they have to verify the accuracy of them before a judge who independently determines whether or not they're okay. So Nunes' his piecemeal approach here is really misleading.
It seems to me that I don't know the guy that well. I'm not impressed with him. I get the feeling that he's getting advice, supervision, direction from the White House. What's your sense? That he didn't come up with these different... He was talking about something down at the White House. He grabbed some material last year, March last year, he went down to the old executive office building and he grabbed some material, and then the next day he took it to the White House and made it look like he was whistleblowing again. He's been going all over the place for the president. Is he coming up with these little scams, or who's coming up with these escapades? He or somebody at the White House? Looks like he's being directed.
Yeah, I've never known Devin Nunes to be that kind of a schemer where he would be doing these things on his own. Remember, he was on Team Trump since during the campaign, and he ran transition on national security for the Trump administration, displacing his predecessor as the HPSC chair, Mike Rogers, who'd been a career FBI officer before becoming a member of Congress. So Nunes doesn't really understand the FBI or law enforcement. He doesn't necessarily understand the intelligence business. I'm not convinced that he would choose this route if he were doing it on his own.
Well, the president's apparent decision comes despite repeated objections from the FBI and the Justice Department. NBC News has confirmed that the Washington Post report that FBI Director Christopher Wray and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein met with administration officials at the White House this past Monday, 2 days ago, to plead the case against releasing this memo. According to a source with direct knowledge of that meeting, Rosenstein said the Justice Department wouldn't be able to correct the memo's inaccuracies without disclosing sources and methods. And Bloomberg reports that Wray said, the FBI director said that the memo contains inaccurate information and paints a false narrative that, according to a person familiar with the matter, those warnings, however, appear to have fallen on deaf ears. Let me go back to Susan Page on this. Susan, what is going on here? It's getting almost like the old McCarthy here, Army McCarthy hearings. You've got one side prosecuting the administration. That's led by, of course, Bob Mueller. He's prosecuting the president. He's investigating, looking for whether he did something with money laundering or collusion or obstruction. We know all that. What is the other side, the counter effort here, being run by Nunes, apparently with the supervision of the White House? What's that about?
There is this very peculiar thing that's happened with this, and it's something I've never seen before in Washington, which is the Justice Department and the FBI, which are, after all, part of the Trump administration, are at odds with the White House over a matter of great importance to them. And we've got the White House in a coalition, are working with, collaborating with the House Intelligence Committee. And it looks like the White House is going to come down on the side of President Trump's interests, on the side of what the House Intelligence Committee wants to do, not on the side of what their own Justice Department and FBI want to do. And the interesting thing about the FBI pushback is that they're not only saying that this would compromise sources of intelligence and be damaging in that way, they're saying this report is inaccurate, will lead a misimpression, will be a lie to the American people. So this is really something I think that is quite extraordinary. I don't know if it's unprecedented. That's a dangerous thing to say, but it's something I've never seen before.
Well, in a response to objections from the FBI and the Justice Department, Chairman Nunes released a statement attacking both institutions. Quote, "It's no surprise to see the FBI and DOJ issue spurious objections to allowing the American people to see information related to surveillance abuses at these agencies. It's clear that top officials used unverified information in a court document to fuel a counterintelligence investigation during an American political campaign." Wow. Let me go back to Julie on this. It seems to me not everything matches history, but this use of a document, this making a big deal about this memo, is very much McCarthy tactic. I have in my hand the list here. I've got a document. This use of a document to make it sound like they know anything more than the argument they've made. They simply have a bunch of staff people who were tasked with coming out to attack the whole Mueller investigation, and they did so in 4 pages, and now it's called a memo, a document, like it's the Declaration of Independence or something. I don't know. The press is going along with it. Everybody in the press is talking about the memo. It looks to me like theater to me. Your thoughts?
Right. Just because you put it on paper doesn't make it authoritative. It doesn't make it accurate, and it doesn't make it right to release. We've seen that hashtag release the memo just exploding across Twitter, over social media. And it's something that a lot of people have gotten behind, because anyone who doesn't want to think negatively about this president, or who doesn't think that this investigation holds any water, they want to believe that this memo is the truth, that not releasing it somehow holds back a truth. When in fact the FBI is saying that its release will actually give out inaccurate information to the public. But the FBI and the Justice Department are not in a position where they'll be able to act after the fact. They can't then sit there and say, well, this is correct and this is not, because then they are in the same position that they think Nunes is in now, where they would be releasing classified information. So they're caught in the middle of this, and really the only action they could take is that statement that we saw today, Chris, where they're able to warn everyone before it comes out, but afterwards they're really just sitting on their hands.
Mieke, back in the Watergate days, there was a lot of pride in the Republican Party, and that pride surmounted any loyalty to Richard Nixon, the president. And those people like Howard Baker and the rest of them, they were trying to figure out, what did the president know and when did he know it? They're just involved in getting the taping system out as anyone else. They were trying to find the truth. They weren't taking orders from the White House. It seems to me that the division of powers in our country and the checks and balances are not being honored here. Why is the chairman of an intelligence committee, which is supposed to be bipartisan by its nature, working for the White House?
It's unclear what his motivation is and why he decided to get on the Trump train, but it's very clear that they are putting their partisanship over the national security interest. In fact, every single Republican on the party, according to the transcript released today, voted against hearing from the FBI about their national security concerns on this memo and its cherry-picked information before they released it. Now, let's remember, 15 years ago, we went to war in Iraq because a White House cherry-picked intelligence. It highlighted the things they thought would make its case, and they buried the things that were doubts. And we took this nation into a disastrous war. And here again, we have career law enforcement officials saying, hey, this is incomplete information. You're not getting the whole story, and it's very misleading.